He was told a lie. His father died when he was a cub. His uncle killed his father. His uncle made it seem like Simba was the one that killed his father. He lied to him. You have people lying to you. You might be lying to yourself, or you have people lying to you. That thing that happened when you were younger, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. It's time for you to go see a therapist. It's time for you to overcome that thing. It had nothing to do with you. It was out of your control. It's unfortunate that it happened, yes, but it is out of your control. It was not your fault. Go talk to somebody about that. Get rid of that lie. It's not your fault. Once you can get over that and overcome that thing, then you can really face this enemy. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum Podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, sharing stories and insights to help you become the next best version of you. Now, what I really want to talk about today is cheering for yourself, because not enough of us, I feel, cheer ourselves on or are proud of ourselves. And not to get all wishy-washy, if you will, but The Lion King. A lot of you may have seen this movie. I hope all of you have seen it. One of my favorite movies. One of my favorite Disney movies. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm joking, but go ahead and watch it if you haven't. I realize in life, we are quick to cheer others on. At least what I've seen, most of us are quick to cheer other people on, but not to cheer ourselves on or give ourselves a pat on the back. And not in an arrogant manner, but not to say that, we don't say we're proud of ourselves, if you will. Or we don't feel proud of ourselves. Obviously, you're not going to say it out loud, really, but we don't feel proud of ourselves for what we've done, who we are, where we've gotten from where we were. And so we'll cheer louder for others than we will for ourselves. And there's a movie, of course, like I said, The Lion King. And I remember Simba. Okay. It's going to take a minute for me to get there, but bear with me. In The Lion King, Simba, at the end of the movie, he takes his rightful place as the king of Pride Rock, right? And he lets out a giant roar. Now, there are lions in the movie, for anybody who hasn't seen it. The king of Pride Rock lets out a giant roar. In the beginning of the movie, close to the beginning, his father, of course, is king. His uncle is actually the evil one. And there's a scene where Simba is in, I don't know what you want to call it, a trove maybe. And he's trying to roar, but terribly. And he's trying to scare a grasshopper away with his roar. It's not working. The grasshopper is just hopping along because the little roar isn't doing anything for him, right? And that's before he stepped into his kingship. Now, there's an enemy there, the uncle, like I said. At the end of the movie, Simba overthrew the enemy, right? He got him off his back. He overthrew the enemy, and he was able to let out a great roar to take his rightful spot as the king of Pride Rock. Now, in the beginning, he didn't know that enemy existed. Simba was still a cub. He was trying to roar. He didn't know that the uncle was his enemy. He was still very friendly with the enemy. His father, Mufasa, knew that the enemy existed, but he was able to keep that enemy at bay, right? His father ends up dying in the movie because the enemy was able to get one over on him. The enemy that I'm referring to is our minds, right? If we know that this enemy exists, we can take the right steps, the right actions, feed ourselves the right information and the right thoughts to be able to overcome that enemy of our minds, because we are our biggest enemies. Not enough of us are our biggest assets, right? Pay attention to that. We are our biggest enemies, what goes on in here, but not enough of us are our biggest assets. Not enough of us cheer ourselves on and speak positivity into ourselves. That's why you always hear about affirmations, because That's a practice of speaking positivity into your life, into you, into who you are. And until we overthrow that enemy, until we overthrow this negative mindset, because they say about 80 or 90% of our thoughts, don't get me, don't quote me, look it up. But they say about 80 to 90% of our thoughts are negative, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe 60 to 80% or something along those lines. I know my math is off. 60 to 80% are repetitive. So those negative thoughts that we're having are actually repetitive, right? It may have been reversed. I think 60 was negative, or 66 was negative, and 80% are repetitive. So either way, a lot of negative thoughts and a lot of repeating negative thoughts. Repetition deepens the impression. The more we hear certain things, the more it sticks with us and becomes who we are. So if we don't overthrow, first of all, realize this enemy is there, like Simba didn't know when he was a cub. It was taking away his roar, his pride, right? He's a lion. He's meant to roar. He's meant to have a great roar. He's meant to be the king of Pride Rock. But he wasn't able to become the king of Pride Rock until he overthrew that enemy. In this case, he overthrew that mindset. And then he was able to take his rightful place as king of Pride Rock and let out the great roar, which, of course, everybody knew he had. He's a lion. You have a great roar in you. You have a great thing in you, a great gift, a great skill. You're a great person, whatever it might be, right? Your humility, the way you make people feel, your aura, your laugh might be contagious. You have certain things about you that are absolutely amazing. We're all human. We all have something that's amazing about us. But you might be stifling that with your own thoughts because you haven't confronted this enemy yet. And it's something you have to do daily, regularly, right? What do you listen to in the morning? With the first 20 minutes of the day, they say your brain, your mind is most impressionable. What do you do in the first 20 minutes of your day? What music do you listen to throughout the day? What books do you read? What movies do you watch? Right? I make it personally, this is me personally, I make it I force myself, if you will. That's not the right word to use. I make it a habit of listening to certain music, right? I'll listen to certain positive music that has a great message behind it, or certain lyrics in there actually speak positivity into me. So if I'm constantly listening to that music, maybe I'm reciting lyrics throughout the day here and there, then of course I'm going to have more positive thoughts than I am negative thoughts, because I'm not feeding myself so much negativity, but more so I'm feeding myself the positivity, fighting against this enemy. All right. And if you want to take it from a spiritual standpoint, by all means, please do. This is, again, one of the greatest concerns or issues I feel that we have is our mind. Because if we don't take control of our mind, then our mind controls us. But if we do take control of our mind, then we control our life for the most part, right? Control the controllables. And in my mind, control the controllables, no pun intended. For me, control the controllables means I'm feeding myself that positivity. Whether it's through music, movies, TV shows, books that I read, right? Conversations I have with people. I am telling you, it is draining talking to some people. I don't think I'm above anybody, but it is draining having certain conversations with people because it's just all negativity. I don't want to hear about that 24/7. Do I want to know or be able to help or whatever the case is? Yes, but I don't want to hear it 24/7. Can we ever have a positive conversation? So it might not be you feeding yourself these things, but it might be your circle, your friends, your family. They're feeding you negativity potentially. So what are you doing to sustain yourself, either to be able to handle that negativity or to withdraw from that negativity to feed yourself the positivity? Because you feel like you're not good enough, right? For a long time, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I still feel like I'm not, let's say, good enough in certain things, but that's why I work at it. But I remember when I was younger, I felt inadequate to get good grades, inadequate to do certain things, right? And it took people making fun of me and me hearing certain information for me to say, you know what? No, I am adequate. I am going to get good grades. I am a royal priesthood. I do know what I'm doing. And watch me flip the script. And I flipped the script. And I ended up completely changing the trajectory of my life. Why? Because on a previous episode, I talked about doing what's convenient versus inconvenient. I did the inconvenient thing, and it allowed me to have a life of convenience in some areas. So I fought back against the enemy in my mind, right? And Les Brown even says, certain moments he had to tell himself to shut up and sit down in his mind, because his mind was just talking negativity. This is where you came from. You really think you can do that? You're an introvert. You really think you can go on a stage and talk to 300 plus people, right? He had to tell himself, shut up and sit down mentally, so that the real version of himself, the real Slim Shady, was able to stand up. So again, whatever it is you think you cannot do, try it. I dare you to try it. Whatever it is you're telling yourself you're not good at, or people are telling you you're not good at, but you know you want to try, you know you can really might be good at it, or whatever the case is, try it. Do it. Because that's the only way to become what you say you want to become. Don't let other people speak that negativity into you. I've had it for too many years of my life where people just speak negativity, and I still have it today. I'm at a point where I just, whatever, I don't care. Like I'll shut it down, right? I encourage you to do the same thing. Shut it down, feed yourself that positivity, because I understand it's draining. It is draining. And at the end of the day, if we're focused on that, even if we're not focused on it, but if it's constantly being given to us, that negativity, how can you ever really step into that positivity and become that person you say you want to be? It's going to be tough, because you're already drained. You're already stressed. You already have this negative aura about you. But really, you're not a negative person. It's just because of the information you're feeding yourself, or you're allowing yourself to be fed. So again, going back full circle to the Lion King, Simba, right? Didn't know of the enemy when he was a cub. He couldn't really let out a roar. He couldn't scare a grasshopper away. As he aged and became older, he realized certain things. He realized the enemy that existed. And caveat, he was told a lie. His father died when he was a cub. His uncle killed his father. His uncle made it seem like Simba was the one that killed his father. He lied to him. You have people lying to you. You might be lying to yourself, or you have people lying to you. That thing that happened when you were younger, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. It's time for you to go see a therapist. It's time for you to overcome that thing. It had nothing to do with you. It was out of your control. It's unfortunate that it happened, yes, but it is out of your control. It was not your fault. Go talk to somebody about that. Get rid of that lie. It's not your fault. Once you can get over that and overcome that thing, then you can really face this enemy. One, you got to realize the enemy exists. Two, you got to overcome that enemy, right? But even a step before that, forgive me, is you got to face that lie. Realize that it's not your fault. All right. Quick and short today. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Kadeem McLean. And I'll see you on the next one.